Hello everyone, Ashley with Amare. So, I'm excited to talk about today's topic. If you guys are listening in on the podcast, feel free to join us on Instagram. If you are on Instagram, feel free to join us on the podcast. Post-op podcasts, the plastic surgery post-op podcasts. It's on Spotify, Anchor, Google, and Apple. So, today we are talking about BBL garments. This is a problem you guys run into a lot. Let's first talk about something. When you get plastic surgery, your ratios change. I have heard multiple times that people have to buy large pants and small shirts when they're shopping, or large underwear and like their same size bra, because your proportions are going to be different. You are getting surgery. So when you get a BBL, if we don't know what a BBL is, it's a fat transfer. And you guys make me laugh every time you do this. You're like, you put on the intake sheet, BBL. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Where'd we get the fat from? Because you had to have lipo to have a BBL. BBL is Brazilian butt lift or fat transfer. So we're taking the fat from your stomach, making your stomach and your waist or wherever we're taking it from, thighs, arms, whatever, smaller. And we are placing it into your glute area, glutes, hips, that whole back rear area, to either fill it out or give it more volume or give it more shape or whatever it may be, right? So that's a BBL. Now, when we are looking at garments, again, if you don't know why you wear a compression garment post-op, go listen to my other podcasts or watch my other Instagram videos where I explain to you, and I'm going to say it again, garments are meant to hold you like a soft cast after surgery, not squish the living daylights out of you. So, that being said, when you're looking for a garment and you've had lipo and a BBL, or a BBL, however you guys want to say it, you need to make sure that it is not crushing your fat transfer. Now, I understand this very big common misconception in the post-op world where the tightest garment humanly possible is what you're in because tighter better. No. Tighter is not better. I say it a million times over and over all the time. Tighter is not better. So when we're looking for a garment, we want something that's snug, that holds you but does not squeeze you. So first, addressing the issue with getting a really tight garment around your BBL will crush the fat transfer. Now, a little bit about fat transfer, a little bit about BBL, right? They call it liquid gold. Why? Because it is your fat from your stomach that they take and re-inject into your glutes. That fat takes 6 to 8 weeks to heal. That healing process is summarized in the first week to 2 weeks as super swollen, really hard, all that liquid's in there, and you have swelling around it, protecting the liquid gold so that it can heal as fat cells and become tissue, right? So that's week 1 to 2, where it's like super swollen, really painful, pretty much numb. Then weeks 2 to 3 and 3 to 4 is when it starts to be real fat, when it starts to not be as liquid and just liquid floating around in there with swelling, but those cells actually start to become tissue. So blood vessels reconnect to them, the swelling starts to go down a little bit, you get a little bit more motion, you start getting the itch. What is the itch? Itching of the BBL or fat transfer. First of all, don't itch it, don't touch it, don't indent it. But itching of the fat transfer is when your swelling is start to come down and you're feeling that swelling or that lymphatic fluid moving underneath your skin, starting to itch. Itching is healing. Basically, if we don't know anything about the post-op itch, why it happens, the science behind it, lymphatic drainage, the lymphatic system, I also have a video on that on our Instagram. So go ahead and look for that if you don't understand why you're itching like crazy or how to stop it or alleviate it. So you will get that itch within week 2 to 4. Weeks 4 to 6 is when the swelling is starting to come down and you guys get what's called the fluff fairy. I don't know who the heck decided that was a thing, but in the post-op world, that's what you guys call it. All that means is your swelling is starting to come down. Your fat is not hard anymore. That hardness in your BBL, where it's like really, really stiff like that, it's because it's super swollen, because your body creates the swelling to protect the fat so that it heals. So in that week 4, week 6, week 8 period, is when you get the fluffing happening, or the fluff fairy, which is basically where your swelling is coming down and your fat is becoming true fat, like the fat on your arms or the fat on your thighs, where it's soft and doughy and nice and pliable and healthy. So that's how the whole BBL healing works. Put that together with the stages that you guys have made up in the post-op world about garments. I have an entire video and podcast on the whole thing about garments and how you don't need a million stages and tighter is not better and squeezing you into different garments that are all cut differently is not better. When you have a BBL, you will have the garment the doctor put you in after surgery. That's typically called your stage 1. You will have the garment after that that's a little bit more of a soft cast rather than super stretchy that is holding your BBL. You are not going to shrink in your BBL. Your BBL area does not shrink. It fluffs and changes shape. If it's shrinking, we have a major problem, especially if it's swollen and shrinking or swollen and indented. That means that the fat is being compromised and we need to change something immediately so that we can protect the fat. So your BBL is meant to change shape. I have tons of before and afters on the Instagram where I show you guys the difference between a BBL changing shape and shrinking. Very, very big difference. So in these garments, your BBL is meant to change shape. You are not meant to be squeezing into 3 sizes smaller of a BBL garment. You will probably be in the same, at week 2 to week 6, the same size garment. Now, what does that mean for your lipo area? Well, your lipo area should be still decreasing in size. Your BBL is not going to decrease in size. Again, at week 4 to 6 is when the swelling starts to come out. So weeks 2 to 4 to 6, you are still in that same size BBL garment because it's still swollen. We're still protecting the fat. We cannot fit it into something smaller. We cannot crush it. So around your waist, as your waist is shrinking, we add the Amare lipofoams. If you have no idea what lipofoams are, go find my video on IGTV about the lipofoams. Now I can only speak for our brand of lipofoams. Proper foams, what they are designed for is to protect you from the garment, to push the garment away from you so anytime you move it doesn't cut into you, but also to fill the gap in your garment and maintain that consistent compression. So a board is not going to fill that gap. A board is just going to cut into you. That like backboard is going to do the same thing. It's just pressing into you. It's not maintaining that soft, flexible compression the way a garment should have soft, flexible compression. So using those Amare lipofoams, we put them in your garment to bridge that space to keep the compression around your stomach and your lipo area and your back and your flanks or whatever it is to make sure that you keep shrinking on your waist while your BBL is not being compromised and not being squished by making you get into a smaller garment because you're super, super worried about, oh my God, I need to squeeze my waist as tight as possible because that's how fluid gets out. No, that's completely wrong. And if you don't know about that, go watch the other video on the whole garment thing. But we use those foams to bridge the gap in your waist. Now, again, weeks 4, week 5, week 6, when your swelling starts to come out of your BBL, if your garment is very, 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 very big around your thighs, very, very, very big around the back and bottom of your BBL to where the garment is just like hanging off of you, yes, then you need a smaller garment. But if your garment's still fitting you snug on that BBL area, on your thighs, in that whole lower region where you have the fat transfer to your hips, everything. Because you can get a BBL and fat transfer to your glutes, and then you can also have fat transfer to the sides of your hips. And again, if that garment is still holding snug to those areas, you are not going to be in another garment for a while because all of that fat needs to stay in there and heal properly and be protected. So bridging the gap in your upper body. Now I know a lot of you guys will use a waist trainer. I have a whole video on Instagram about waist trainers and how they cut off your lymphatic flow and cause a backup of swelling and cause instant fibrosis. Please do not use a waist trainer with a BBL as a means to squeezing your waist to try and get you down a size for your waist while trying to heal your BBL. Please do not do that. You will cause fibrosis. So we use those foams to bridge the gap in your garment until you are ready to get into something smaller, until you can get into something smaller. But again, the BBL is the most precious thing. We do not want to compromise that. We do not want to put any pressure on that. We do not want to squeeze you into something that is super crazy tight for your waist and winds up crushing your BBL. That's how a lot of these problems happen. Now that I've said all that, let's talk about the kinds of garments you guys are getting for your BBL. First and foremost, big red flag. Again, we have fat transfer in there that needs to be protected and held. If you have a garment with no fabric over the glute area, or you decide to cut a hole for your butt to hang out of your garment, the hole that you cut is going to create a massive ring of pressure directly on your BBL. The area of your butt that's hanging out of the garment out in the open is 1, not protected, 2, being crushed by the weight of the garment as it's being forced out, and 3, you are doing so much damage to that fat transfer, all of that's going to die. So holes in the BBL garment? Absolutely not. In your head, picture, you ever see those Play-Doh machines where it's got like the hole and you stick the Play-Doh on one side and you press it and all the Play-Doh comes out in a tube on the other side? That's basically what you're doing to your fat transfer. You are smushing it through a hole. Now, that being said, the BBL chair thing where you're cutting a hole in a lawn chair to sit, you are putting direct pressure. You're putting your whole body pressure actually into that hole, smushing your fat transfer into that hole every time you sit and putting your whole body weight on it. That is a huge no. Please do not do that. That is a huge no. The next garment that I see a lot of the times is the BBL area with just a sheer stretchy piece of fabric. Now this is what gets you guys in trouble the most. So your doctor is very big about not, and I'm very big, of course, as I just said in this whole video, not putting pressure on the fat transfer at all. Mind you guys, your fat transfer is liquid. It needs to be held. Otherwise, anytime you move, anytime you bend over, anytime you do any of that, that liquid is going to be squished. It's going to squish around on your BBL. So with the garments that have just that like really stretchy material covering the butt part with no actual structure, nothing to actually hold you and protect you, like a capsule or like something that's actually holding you in there, anytime you move, anytime you lay down, anytime you go to even sit on your BBL pillow, and I know you guys can't see this on the podcast, but your BBL is a big round thing. And anytime it moves and you have this sheer, thin, stretchy material, you bend and that material is stretching over your BBL, it's going to cause pressure on it. It's going to cause a flat, stretched pressure. Think about a tissue, right? If we have a tissue and we put a like rubber ball under that tissue and then we spread the tissue out, that tissue is putting pressure on the top of that rubber ball. That is exactly what you're doing to your fat transfer. With those garments that have that sheer, like super stretchy, elasticy material in the BBL area, anytime you bend down, that material is stretching over your BBL in one big flat piece and pressing against you. Anytime you are laying down, anytime you sit, that material is stretching over your BBL, and because there's no capsule and the seams aren't let out, it's stretching and putting pressure across your entire BBL area in the back. So that we see all the time. A lot of the Faja, the Colombian Fajas, M&D, Melly Belts, Diane and Jordy, there are tons of Colombian Faja brands. They all do that. They have that stretchy material in the back, and anytime you go to sit or bend at the waist, that material is not, there's no capsule inside to hold you. And I know I keep saying that, I'll explain it in a second. But that whole section is just being like crushed by one thick piece or like sheer stretchy piece of material over your BBL. That's how you guys get that flat pancake look to your BBL. You could be using a BBL pillow. You could be on your knees 24/7. You could be standing 24/7, not even laying on your back or putting any pressure on your BBL. But because of your garment, you wind up with a ridge or a rift or that flat little pancake piece on your BBL. The other thing to be super careful with that you get indents with the BBL garments, zippers. Zippers or snaps at the crotch opening, because that zipper goes all the way back towards where your BBL is, and anytime again you sit or you bend over, that hard seam and that hard zipper is indenting right at the crease of where your glutes are in the back, right where your glutes meet in the back is where you're going to get that flatness. So if you guys are having indents in your BBLs, please check your garments for that sheer stretchy material in the back, that like elasticy stretchy material. Please check them for the zippers in the back. Like check your garment to see what it looks like back there. So as we know, I have my own line of garments. Our garment, the Amare garment, is used for tummy tuck, lipo, and BBL. And it has the BBL capsule inside. What does that mean? It means that the way that I did the measurements on the garment, The hips, the measurements are let out. So our garments are not measured by like small, medium, large, extra large. Yes, they may have that tag on them just so that we know where your ratios are and what the next size down or up to give you is. But the way that our garments are measured and designed, you have the ratio of your stomach, the ratio of your chest, the ratio of your thighs, which is graded compression. This whole thing is graded compression. And what that means is for your thighs, the lace is a little bit, the dimensions of where the lace is at the bottom of the garment is a certain ratio, and then it goes up incrementally and gets let out at your hips for the fat transfer. And the way that the seams are placed, the seams let out at your hips for the fat transfer. And then in the butt, in the back, we actually have a circle of power net in the garment first, and then that stretchy material on the outside for flexibility. So that when you do bend, move, sit, anything, you have that power net holding you, and that power net is cut in a very specific circular way so that it acts as kind of like a pouch or, like I said, a capsule to hold your fat transfer. This is how on my Instagram, when you look at the before and afters, we get our BBLs going from that flat square shape to that rounded soft shape. And I say in the captions that it was caused by a bad garment or whatever the reason was, not having a proper BBL pillow, not sitting on your BBL pillow right, laying too much, whatever it may be. It's all listed in the captions of those before and afters where you see that square BBL turned into that perfect little peach. Because in our garment, at that 2-week phase, at that 3-week phase, at that 4-week phase, whenever you guys find us, as long as your BBL is in that healing phase, having it in that capsule kind of redirects where your fat transfer has been smushed and like doesn't smooth it out because we're not touching the BBL, but it's holding that liquid gold. It's holding that fat transfer in place so that it's not just being smooshed anytime you move. And it's not just being pushed on by one thin or one flat piece of fabric in the back. So that's that BBL capsule part. So we still have that stretchy, like movable lycra on the outside so that you have some movement and it's not rigid, but that BBL capsule on the inside is designed very specifically with proportions and compression ratios for lymphatic drainage to help fluff you faster, number one, to help protect you from any kind of movement, number two, to hold your fat transfer, number three, and number four, so that you're comfortable. Because those garments that are cut very square, if you have a very rounded, beautiful fat transfer, you're smushing yourself into that and it's not really very comfortable. And anytime you move, it will cut into the top of your glutes. It'll cut into your sides. You'll feel a lot of pain in your fat transfer and not just soreness, actual pain when you bend or move or sit or anything like that. You will feel pain in your garment directly on your fat transfer if it is not cut right. So there's that. And then at the actual waist, our garments are cut in a very specific way and taken in with the compression ratio so that your hips are a little bit smaller than your waist and your waist is let out a little bit more. Your BBL capsule in the back is let out a little bit more. And all these ratios are designed for lymphatic swelling to be filtered out. So they're not crushing you, but they fit kind of like a good pair of shoes. They're cut right to fit where your body is at. And then again, with your waist, when it shrinks, we put those foams in. So 3 major things to look out when you have a BBL and someone gives you a garment, whether it be your doctor or a Faja place. No circular cutouts where your butt's just hanging out. Be very careful of that flat fabric in the back of how it's cut. And also be very careful and make sure it's a true BBL garment. Guys, I've seen you guys come in with garments that don't even have a BBL area. It's an M&D garment and it's just very like elastic sausage casing that you pull up that has no area for the BBL at all. So please be very careful and make sure that you have the right garment. And if you need help with a garment, if you don't know, if you're definitely looking at this like, my BBL is looking crazy and I think it's because of my garment, because what she's saying makes sense, call our office. The garments are not available for sale online yet. We're hoping at the end of the year they will be. They're not available yet online, but I can still get you one. We have to properly measure you, properly fit you, look at what you're doing. When I fit for my garments, it is not just, okay, your hips are this, your legs are that, your waist is this, your BBL is that, okay, you're a medium. That's not how it works at all. There's a whole algorithm to the way that I fit. There's a whole equation. We have to look at several ratios. We have to look at if you have fibrosis. We have to look at where your BBL's at, how many cc's of fat they put in, how you're swelling, all these different things. So call the office, 732-841-0142, and you can set up a virtual consult with me. You can speak to Alex, and she can get you on my schedule. The virtual consults are $90, and that includes the garment fitting, as well as addressing any other post-operative complications, questions that we have. And I can fit you for a garment, tell you what you need to be in, or if you have a garment, we can try to work with it, depending on how it's cut, depending on how it fits you. If the BBL area is just completely destroying your BBL, yeah, we're gonna have to get you a new garment. But if the problem is, like I said in the beginning of this conversation, where your BBL area is still fitting snug, but your waist is really big and you don't know what to do, then yeah, we can totally help with that in that session as well. And we may be able to save you some money on a garment by me teaching you how to properly use yours and rig it with the lipofoams to fit. If you are prior to surgery and your doctor says, oh, you should get your garment beforehand, and they're not going to provide it, we can absolutely do that. You can absolutely call before surgery to get your garment, figure out what you need, make sure your doctor's giving you the right one. Or if you're going to use the one that your doctor gave you, we can make sure that you rig it right out of surgery right then and there so that you're good to go. So before is always better because we kind of know what we're getting into and we're not having any fat transfer damage, whereas after we kind of have to look at the damage, fix it, see what's going on. And there's always a way to fix it, unless it's something really crazy. So there's that. But give the office a call, and you guys, if you need a garment, if you have, BBL problems, we can figure out what's going on. 732-841-0142 and get you into a proper garment or fix the garment that you have now. Two other things I want to end this video with and talk about. The friggin' avocado float. What did I just say about the chair? And I'm going to post a video of a post-operative woman trying to get up out of the avocado and got stuck in it. The avocado float does not have back support, does not have leg support, and even if you put it on the bed, the pressure on your BBL is still going to be pressure that will damage your back and fat transfer. I say your back because you're having lipo to your back and there's no back support in an avocado. Also, I know a lot of recovery houses that I spoke to that are very honest about the BBL chair that this been going around on Instagram, this like BBL chair thing where there's that hole cut out in it. They say it's extremely uncomfortable and they've stopped using it. Those are the recovery houses who've gotten them for their girls. They wind up just using recliners and putting the BBL pillow or pillows on the recliner and I know you guys can't see this on the podcast, but you want to put a bunch of pillows, let's say 4 pillows under your legs and 4 pillows under your back, and leave a space between the pillows, and your BBL is floating in midair above the bed or above the recliner that you're laying on. So you want to have that open space where it's floating in midair. You don't want your BBL touching the bed or the recliner. So you want to get really thick, high pillows or yoga bolsters. Go on Amazon, get the rectangular yoga bolsters, and you can put those under your thighs and under your lower back so that your BBL literally is just free floating in space in between those bolsters, and you are not putting any pressure on them, and you are laying and you are flat. You can also put more pillows under your back to keep you reclined so that you're not laying flat if you've had a tummy tuck. But there are tons of ways to do it, or sleeping on your stomach as most people do with lipo. But if that's super uncomfortable, there are ways to lay, like I just explained, with the BBL on your back that does not involve some crazy avocado chair or lawn chair, gravity chair with a hole in it, or all kinds of craziness that you guys are doing because the post-op world is a big fad and loves craziness and really doesn't give you any medical knowledge, which is why I do these talks with you guys. So that solves that problem. And that's a lot about the BBL garments and your issues with that. Last thing I want to say is BBL pillows. You guys could have the best garment in the world. If you do not have a stable, sturdy BBL pillow that has 0 squish, 0 memory foam, 0 pillow top padding, a boppy pillow is not a BBL pillow and will indent your BBL and will kill your fat transfer. No, no, no. So, definitely no to the boppy. I feel very passionately about that. If you don't know what kind of BBL pillow you need, if you don't know how to sit properly on a BBL pillow, I have a video on my Instagram as well as on the YouTube. The easiest way to find that video, if you go to our online shop where the BBL pillows are, if you don't have one, you can buy one there, our Amare BBL pillow, like what I'm explaining and talking to you guys about. It's on our online shop page, on the product page for the BBL Pillow. There is a video of me showing you the super squishy like rectangle that squishes versus our BBL pillow, which does not, and the difference in your posture when sitting on it, the difference in where the pressure is put on your fat transfer, and all of that stuff. You can also use those yoga bolsters if you are laying down, or if you are like sitting on the toilet or sitting in your chair and don't have a BBL pillow. Those giant rectangular yoga bolsters, you can use those as well to elevate yourself and then put the BBL pillow on top of it so you get a little bit more height. The reason I say that is you guys sometimes get fat transfers and they're very, very big on the bottom because we're trying to fill out an area that doesn't have a lot of fat in it. So if you lay down one of those yoga bolsters, the flat rectangular ones, and then put your BBL pillow on top of that, it'll give you a little bit extra height. As long as they're the rectangular flat ones and you're not going to roll or slide off of them, it'll give you a little more height so that your BBL pillow is lifted off the chair a little bit more, and you definitely have your BBL floating in that free space that we've just created. And if you guys want to see that, what that free space looks like and how you should be sitting on your BBL pillow, go find the product page for the BBL pillows, amarepostopshop.com. The link is in the bio on my Instagram, as well as in the show notes and our page on Spotify. So you guys can go watch that and check it out. So this was, I would say a little bit, but this was a lot on BBL garment talk. So thank you guys for listening. Again, if you need help with your BBL stuff situation in general, you can call the office, 732-841-0142. Happy Alex, as everybody calls her, can help get you set up and answer some of your questions too. If she's an extension of me. So if you have questions pertaining to BBL and you're like, oh my God, is this going to work? Is this okay? I don't know. She can only answer so much, guys. She's not a specialist, I am, but she can answer most of your questions just to get you by and get you comfortable with booking your session. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for joining me, and I will talk to you all again next week. Bye.